My daughter didn't just disinvite me from her wedding. She explained, in painstaking detail, why my presence would be an embarrassment. I was too simple, too plain, too poor. What she didn't know was that my life of quiet modesty was a carefully chosen facade, and the poverty she pitted was a multi-million-dollar secret. When she discovered the truth, her sudden, desperate invitation wasn't a change of heart. It was an opportunity for me to teach her the most elegant lesson of her life. To the outside world, I am Elara Vance. For 45 years, I was a master furniture restorer, known to my online followers as the Patina Queen. My world was one of sawdust and citrus-scented polish, of finding the soul in scarred wood and faded paint. I lived in a cozy, cluttered cottage, not a minimalist mansion. My treasures weren't flashy, they were the quiet, profound pieces others overlooked. A Chippendale desk I'd rescued from a barn, its value known only to me. A collection of first-edition poetry nestled between bookends I'd carved myself. A landscape, seemingly amateur, that was in fact a lost study by a Hudson River School painter. Their worth was astronomical, but their value to me was in their story, their silence, their truth. My late husband, Leo, was a historian, a man who found riches in old maps and older stories. Together, we built a life of immense intellectual and aesthetic wealth on modest, public salaries. What no one knew, not my friends, and certainly not my daughter, Chloe, was that my hobby was a genius-level talent for spotting priceless antiques disguised as junk. Over decades, I had quietly bought, restored, and sold pieces through discreet channels, amassing a fortune that I kept locked away in investments and a private vault. I drove a 15-year-old pickup truck. I wore comfortable, well-made clothes from the local artisan market. I found the blaring brand name obsession of the new rich to be profoundly tacky. My wealth was for security, for philanthropy, for funding arts programs in underserved schools, it was not for performance. Chloe had never understood this. She grew up surrounded by this quiet beauty and saw only shabbiness. She saw a mother who worked with her hands and mistook it for a lack of ambition. Her love for me was real, I believed, but it was perpetually laced with a cringe of embarrassment. And that cringe, I was about to learn, was a poison more corrosive than hatred. The call came on a rainy Thursday. I was in my workshop, carefully inlaying a piece of mother-of-pearl into a 19th-century music box. My phone lit up with a picture of Chloe, beaming from a ski slope. "Hi, my love," I answered, the genuine joy clear in my voice. "How are the final wedding plans? Tell me you've chosen a cake with real buttercream, not that dreadful fondant." "Mom, hi," she said, her voice tight, too bright. "Yeah, it's all crazy. Listen, I'm actually calling about the wedding. About the guest list." A cold knot tightened in my stomach. "Oh? It's just, with Julian's family being who they are, the Thorne name and all, the guest list has exploded. The vineyard has a hard cap on numbers, and the Thornes have so many political and business contacts they have to invite. It's delicate." I said nothing. The silence forced her to continue, her words tumbling out in a rushed, rehearsed monologue. "So, we've had to make some really, really difficult choices. We've had to streamline the list to just essential family and core guests." She took a sharp breath. "And so, I'm so sorry, but we don't think you should come." The world didn't stop. It simply emptied of all sound and meaning. "You're not inviting me to your wedding?" The words felt foreign in my mouth. "It's not that we don't want you there," she said, her voice pitching higher with defensiveness. It's a very specific kind of event. We need it to be cohesive." Cohesive, the word was a surgical instrument, neatly excising me from the picture. "I'm your mother, Chloe." How am I not essential family? Mom, please don't be difficult, she snapped, impatient, shredding her false apology. You know what I mean. The Thornes, their circle, it's a different world. A different caliber. The word poor hung in the air, unspoken but screaming. You wouldn't be comfortable, she continued, shifting to a tone of cloying, false concern that was infinitely worse. Everyone will be talking about their summers in Monaco, their private equity deals. What would you even talk about? Your wood stains? Your latest YouTube video on varnish? She wasn't just excluding me, she was annihilating my entire life, my passions, my identity, dismissing them as trivial and shameful. Then came the final, cowardly blow. And Julian, his mother, Serena, is very traditional. She wants everything to be perfect. And your background is just a little too bohemian for them. They're simple people, in their way. They just don't understand it. The Thornes, a family woven into the fabric of political power and old money, were simple. I, a woman who could authenticate a piece of Federalist furniture by its drawer joints, was complicated. It would just be awkward for everyone, Mom, she finished, her voice a firm, cold verdict. For you, for me, for them. It's better this way. I'm sorry. The apology was a hollow shell. The truth was my perceived poverty. I was a social contaminant, a stain on the pristine linen of her new life, and I was to be quietly bleached out. The silence after she hung up was absolute. The grief was a physical weight, crushing my chest. It wasn't just the pain of the rejection, it was the devastating realization that my own daughter saw me as a caricature, a pathetic figure she had constructed to justify her own social climbing. I could have raged. I could have wept. I could have listed every sacrifice, every tuition payment, every quiet gift that had paved her way to this gilded world. But a strange, icy calm settled over me. Arguing would only confirm her narrative. My pain would only be proof of my emotional, lower-class instability. And I was not unstable. I was a strategist. In that moment of profound hurt, a new resolve crystallized. I would not beg. I would not plead. I would teach her a lesson. Not in vengeance, but in value. She had judged my book by its worn, comfortable cover. I was about to reveal the first edition masterpiece hidden within. The next morning, I did not mourn. I went to work. My first call was to my financial advisor, Eris, a sharp, unflappable man who had managed my portfolio for 20 years. Eris, I said, my voice all business. I need to liquidate some assets. I'm making a significant personal purchase. That afternoon, I walked into the most exclusive Aston Martin dealership in the city. The showroom was a cathedral of polished steel and gleaming paint. Salesmen in suits that cost more than my pickup truck glided past, their eyes sliding over my simple linen trousers and handmade sweater. I was invisible. Finally, a young salesman approached. Can I help you, ma'am? I'd like to speak to your senior client advisor, I said, my voice quiet but firm. I'm here to order a DBS Superleggera. His smile froze. A DBS? Madam, that's a very specialized vehicle, I am aware. Please fetch your manager. He scurried off, returning with an older, impeccably dressed man who assessed me with a skeptical, appraising gaze. We sat at his glass desk. The DBS is a serious commitment, he began, patronizingly. The ordering process, the financing. I will not be requiring financing, I interrupted calmly. I opened my woven handbag and slid a certified check from my private bank across the desk. I believe this will cover the deposit. He looked down. The number on the check made his professional composure flicker. The skepticism vanished, replaced by instant, profound deference. I had transformed from invisible to VIP in 3 seconds. For the next hour, we configured my car. I chose a deep, subtle bronze. For the interior, I selected oxblood leather and carbon fiber trim. I added every performance and luxury feature. It was a car of brutal, understated power. A car that didn't scream, it whispered a threat. The final price was over $350,000. We can have it delivered in 6 to 8 weeks, the advisor said, now with reverence. No, I said. I will take delivery myself. On a specific day. I gave him the date, the Friday before Chloe's wedding. The bait was chosen. The following weeks were a silent, lonely purgatory. Chloe didn't call. I had been cleanly deleted. The silence was a wound, but it was also the space I needed to plan. The Friday before the wedding dawned bright and clear. The dealership called. My Aston Martin was ready. I took a taxi there, not wanting my old truck to cast a shadow on this new persona. The car was a work of art, a sculpture of power and elegance. The advisor handed me the keys, heavy and cold. I slid into the driver's seat, the smell of new leather and money filling my lungs. I didn't feel excitement. I felt the focused calm of a general. I knew exactly where to find her. Every Friday, Chloe and her high-powered PR friends held court at the Veranda, the city's most ostentatious brunch spot, a stage for their curated lives. I arrived at 1:15 p.m. I pulled the roaring, bronze beast up to the valet stand, directly in front of the sprawling outdoor patio. I could see Chloe at the center of her table, holding forth. I didn't look at her. I stepped out, the car door closing with a solid, expensive thunk. I handed the keys to a wide-eyed valet. Just for an hour, I murmured. Then, with the entire patio watching, I walked past her table. I was not in my workshop clothes. I wore a stark, impeccably tailored black jumpsuit and dark sunglasses. I gave a vague, polite nod to no one in particular and found a secluded table inside, pulling out a volume of Mary Oliver's poetry. The bait, in all its $350,000 glory, was parked in their direct line of sight. The reaction was immediate. I saw her friends pointing, their mouths agape. Chloe's head snapped up. She saw the car. She saw the valet fawning over it. Then her scan of the patio landed on me, sitting calmly, turning a page. Her face was a perfect mask of stunned, horrified confusion. The collision of her two realities, the simple, embarrassing mother and the woman who owned a supercar, was more than her brain could process. She snatched her phone, said something frantic to her friends, and stalked away from the table. A moment later, my phone buzzed on the table. Chloe, my girl. I let it ring 3 times, then picked it up. Hello, darling. Mom, what was that? She sputtered, her voice a shrill squeak of disbelief. That car. That Aston Martin. Was that you? Oh, the new car? I said, my voice a masterpiece of casual understatement. Yes, I just picked it up. It's quite responsive. There was a sputtering silence. Then, the pivot. The screeching shock vanished, replaced by a loud, artificial laugh. Oh my God, Mom, you are too much, she gushed. A new car. You are full of surprises. And listen, you are going to kill me. I can't believe you actually fell for it. Fell for what, darling? The whole thing. Not inviting you. It was a joke. A stupid prank. Julian and I cooked it up to tease you. We were going to call you tomorrow with a surprise, you're invited. Oh, you must have thought we were serious. I feel terrible. The audacity of the lie was breathtaking. She was gaslighting me, rewriting her cruelty into a quirky joke. You were joking, I repeated, flatly. Completely. Of course I want you at my wedding, Mom. You're my mother. I was just being a brat. You have to forgive me. You have to come. The desperation was palpable. The poor mother was now a mysterious woman of significant, public wealth. I was no longer a liability, I was an asset. I let out a soft, forgiving laugh. Oh, Chloe. You really had me going. A joke? Of course. You always did have a wicked sense of humor. The relief on her end was a physical force. Oh, thank God. Of course I want you there. More than anyone. Well, then of course I'll be there, my love, I said, layering my voice with warm, maternal grace. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Then, I added the final, irresistible piece of bait. And I'm so glad, because to be honest, I've been planning to give you and Julian a rather substantial wedding gift. Something to really help you build your future together. It would have been so awkward if I couldn't give it to you in person. A sharp intake of breath. A gift? Mom, you don't have to. I want to, I said, my voice dropping to a sincere, loving whisper. You're my only daughter. And I've been doing rather well for myself lately. It's something significant. A real foundation. I didn't specify. I let her imagination, a greedy, materialistic organ, do the work. A penthouse. A stock portfolio. A blank check. Mom. She breathed, her voice thick with false emotion. I don't know what to say. I love you so much. I love you too, darling. I'll see you at the wedding. I hung up. The trap was now set, baited, and armed. And my daughter had walked right into it. The next 2 weeks were a surreal performance. I played the part of the reconciled mother of the bride. Chloe, in turn, became a paragon of filial devotion, clinging to my arm, boasting about my brilliance to anyone who would listen. I was no longer bohemian, I was artisanal. I was no longer poor, I was discreet. They were building the stage for their own downfall, constantly hinting at the substantial gift to come. Meanwhile, I was working behind the scenes. I met with Eris to restructure assets. Then, I met with Ms. Evelyn Reed, the director of the Vance Foundation, my secret philanthropic arm that funded woodworking and design scholarships for at-risk youth. I explained my plan. I am endowing a new, permanent scholarship, I told her. And I would like it announced at my daughter's wedding. She was a woman who understood quiet power. A slow smile spread across her face as she grasped the elegant genius of it. We planned everything. She would be an honored guest. During the toasts, she would make a special presentation. The day of the wedding, I arrived at the sprawling Thorne family estate not in my pickup, but in the roaring Aston Martin. I stepped out in a custom gown the color of a stormy sky, my only jewelry a pair of Art Deco emerald clips that had once belonged to a minor European royal. A hush fell. I was an event. Chloe saw me, her jaw slack with shock. She rushed over, gushing loudly for the benefit of her new in-laws. Mom. You look incredible. Julian's father, a patrician with a grip of iron and eyes like a banker, looked me over and gave a nod of genuine, impressed respect. I had passed. I had aced the test. The reception was a symphony of old money opulence. After dinner, the bandleader took the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we have a very special presentation in honor of the newlyweds, from the mother of the bride, Elara Vance. A large screen descended. Chloe and Julian, beaming with smug anticipation, were ushered to the stage. They were expecting a reveal. A deed. A check with a life-changing number of zeros. Instead, Ms. Reed, elegant and respectable, approached the podium. "Good evening," she began, her voice clear and commanding. "My name is Evelyn Reed, director of the Vance Foundation. For years, I have had the privilege of working with one of our city's most generous and unassuming philanthropists, Elara Vance." I saw the first flicker of confusion on Chloe's face. Elara believes that the greatest legacy is not what you keep, but what you give. For decades, her quiet generosity has funded tools, tuition, and hope for young craftspeople in need. She turned her radiant smile to the couple on stage. And tonight, to honor this union, she has made her most transformative gift yet. Chloe's face relaxed. Aha, she thought, *, a grand public donation. And then the real gift for us, *, it is my profound honor, Ms. Reed boomed, to announce that Elara Vance has endowed $5 million to establish the Thornes Vance Legacy Fund for Artisanal Arts, ensuring that the skilled hands of the future will always have the support they need to create beauty. The screen lit up. Not with a picture of a house or a stock certificate, but with a giant, ceremonial check made out to the fund. The room erupted in thunderous, genuine applause. This was a language the old money crowd understood and revered: legacy, philanthropy, class. They were on their feet, applauding me. On stage, the beaming smiles of Chloe and Julian shattered. Their faces collapsed into identical masks of pure, unadulterated horror. They stared at the $5 million that was not for them, that they could never spend. They were trapped, forced to smile and accept congratulations for their own public financial disembowelment. Chloe's smile was a rictus of pain, her eyes wide with a panicked, animalistic understanding. As the applause subsided, I took the microphone. "Thank you, Evelyn," I said, my voice warm and gracious. I spoke of Leo, of our belief in the dignity of craft, of building a future not of things, but of skills and souls. A wedding is a celebration of the future, I concluded, my voice full of a serene, devastating wisdom. And I believe the greatest gift we can give is the chance for others to build a beautiful one of their own. I raised my glass for a toast to the future, and to the happy couple. Under the cover of the renewed applause, I turned to my daughter. I looked at her ruined face, at the dawning, terrible comprehension in her eyes. My expression was not one of triumph, but of sad, final pity. Then, I walked off the stage, through the adoring crowd, and out of the ballroom. I did not look back. The valet brought my Aston Martin around. I slid into the driver's seat, the smell of leather and victory filling the space. I drove away from the estate, away from the wedding, away from the daughter I thought I knew. I was not a rejected mother. I was Elara Vance. And I had just restored the most broken thing I had ever encountered, the truth.